Hello and welcome to Calls. This is the 2022 BMW Championship DFS Tactics show. As you can probably tell and definitely see and hear, I'm quite under the weather, so I sound and look even more like shit than I normally do. So bear with me. I will try to get through as much of this show as I can. I have quite a bit of water and some cough drops with me, so if you hear me chewing on one of those, I apologize, but I don't want to have a coughing fit on the show again for you all. But we are here for the BMW. 68 players in the field. Cameron Smith and Tommy Fleetwood have decided not to play. I am curious to hear your all's take with a no-cut event. What is your line of thinking as far as players that you want to target and avoid and all that stuff? So because I don't feel good, let's just get right into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from fantasynational.com. It is the best tool out there. It's going to make you a much better gambler and a much smarter DFS player. Go check them out. It's well worth your investment. In the description to the video, there are links to all of my social media. I will be placing my betting card shortly after the show this evening. Discord server, Twitch. If you have been following and watching on Twitch the past couple of days, I've been working on the mixed condition model and talking through that. So a lot of different ways to get in touch with me, hang out, talk golf, talk sports in general or games or whatever. So make sure you give me a follow at the links in the description. And then finally, we're live. Chat's open. I want to hear from you all. Like I said, who are you targeting? Who are you fading? What kind of strategy are you thinking about? It seems like at least the analytical community is going one certain way. So we'll see if we can combat that. So let's figure out our strategy and do our tactics for the 2022 BMW. And we start with Windfinder. As I mentioned Monday, I was going to keep checking on it. It doesn't appear to be much. I don't have the super forecast on just because of the no cut. These players are guaranteed 4 rounds. But there doesn't look to be much. If you think this is an AM PM or like a favor for the AM, it's really not. If we were to go into the super forecast, I mean, it's pretty consistent all day on Thursday. Friday maybe picks up in the afternoon, but nothing to give it strong consideration. So there is no wind factor this week, especially since it is a no-cut event. So no wind in the mixed condition model. Speaking of mixed condition model, let's go ahead and move over to it. I ended up focusing quite heavily on 2 different things. The first is long courses. We know this is going to be long. But does it play long? Don't really know. Apparently there is quite a bit of elevation change that I didn't see in Pro Visualizer. But even so, the course is long. We know that it's going to, on the scorecard, it's 7,540 something. So it's going to be a really long, challenging course, I think. So I focused on long courses, and I have quite a bit of fast and lightning bent greens, in the sense that I went back and looked at winners of the previous BMWs, Northern Trust, these playoff events, and a lot of players that did well, maybe not even necessarily won, but played well, had some kind of putting form coming in. So honestly, I would like to have put a little bit more in here, but as we go through it, you'll see why I ran out of percentages based on the things that we have talked about all week. So excuse me. So the first metric here, we talked about fairways a lot this week, and I thought fairways were going to be the be-all end-all in terms of driving. The more I thought about it, fairways are certainly going to be important, but you're going to have to be able to hit the ball long too. You're just going to have to be able to carry certain bunkers or carry dog legs. So that's why I put 10% in strokes gained off the tee on long courses. In my estimation, players like John Rahm, Victor Hovland, Xander's not necessarily the longest, but he can move it out there as well. Rory. These players, I think, are going to have an advantage this week. The more I thought about it, looked at some other pundits in the industry and whatnot. So I've got 10% in off the tee on long courses, 15% in strokes gained approach. Again, it's just my preferred statistic. If we don't have much in terms of data, I will always be using some strokes gained approach. 5% in putting form on fast and lightning bent greens. I would have liked to have put more, but based on the metrics that I think are going to be very, very important, I just ran out of percent. We talked about birdies gained, and this being a no-cut event, you want players that just aren't afraid to go low, knowing that a triple bogey isn't going to take them out of the tournament, miss the cut, and all that stuff. So I went 15% in birdies gained, again, on long courses. We know this is going to be long, so I wanted to see who was able to attack long courses and still prevail or do well or whatnot. So 15% there, 15% in just total procs. We talked all week that the greens are massive here, so greens and regulation just won't matter. So I wanted to see who just dials it in, hits it close. 5% of the par threes, I went back and looked, and the exact yardages, you had two in the 200 to 225. They were 205 and 206, so I imagine they might fall into that 175 to 200 bucket every once in a while. So I didn't feel comfortable narrowing down a range or a length of par threes. So I just have 5% in par threes. I have 20% in par fours and 10% in par fours 400 to 450 yards. And I mentioned this last week and earlier this week on Twitch that I didn't feel like I was wrong for focusing par fours last week, and indeed the top 30 players at the Northern Trust were all positive in terms of strokes gained par four. Now you do have an extra par five here at Wilmington Country Club, but I still am under the belief that par fours are going to be the be-all, end-all here. And then I singled out the 400 to 450. And the reason being, there were 2 from 350 to 400, 6 in the 450 to 5, and 3 in the 450, the 450 to 5. 6 in the 400 to 450. Yeah. Again, I'm tired. I don't feel well, so I'll probably screwed that up somewhere. Anyway, the 2 par 4s that fall from 350 to 400 are 391 and 393. So you can easily imagine a scenario where they play into the 400 to 450. Conversely, you do have a few of the 400 to 450 par 4s that could sneak into the upper length or bucket, if you will. You got 444, 446, but otherwise, 437 is going to be a stretch to get there. It might, but be a stretch. 413, probably not going to get there. 430, 419. So I felt pretty comfortable this being my kind of pivot, if you will, in my rankings this week versus everybody else, in the sense that I think the 400 to 450 par 4s will be pretty important, and that is the first condition that I will lose to. That if they end up not being very important, this length, then that's 10% of my data model that is not good. The last metric that I put into the mixed condition model is 3-putt avoidance on fast and lightning bent greens. And I made this comparison Monday to the old course, St. Andrews. Now, obviously, those greens are massive, massive, massive. These are big, and three-putt avoidance was a major factor at the old course. It always is. So, not everyone is going to be dialed in. You know, they're not going to hit every shot to 15, 20 feet. So I wanted to see who could avoid three putts on the fast and lightning bent greens. So that was the last 5% there. And again, this is a bit of a small, I don't want to call it a hedge, but a small factor that I'm trying to gain an advantage on others in the industry. So these two here, and then the third facet or third metric that I will lose to, I don't have any par 5 in here in this mixed condition model. If I do truly believe that these are 3-shot par 5s, and I do, then everyone is going to be going for birdies, not eagles. If that's the case, that diminishes the par 5's importance. Now, if these par 5s were reachable, say like the CJ Cup this past fall, that's why I was so high on Rory, because I felt like those par 5s were just completely attackable. And Rory won, he won going away. I feel like these are true 3-shot par 5s, so I don't think they're going to be very important this week. So that's the third condition that I will lose to in the sense of a mixed condition model, is that if par 5s are important, I'll lose. So anyway, there's the metrics and the percentages and the reasonings why I have them. When I run the mixed condition model, my top 10 are Will Zalatoris, Tony Finau, Corey Connors, Sungjae Im, Rory, Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, Brendan Steele, Victor Hovland, and Scott Stallings. The obvious name here, Brendan Steele being 8th, is probably a surprise. He probably shouldn't be. But again, I've got so much emphasis on ball striking. He's still number 1 in this field, this loaded field, in strokes gained approach in his last 36 rounds. He's top 15 on par 4s. Now, he doesn't get birdies, that's an issue. But he's also top 5 in total procs, top 5 off the tee on long courses. So, say what you want about Brendan Steele. He bit me last week, but the numbers say he should be very good again this week. And with a no-cut event, that putter, he can take him out of a round, but it won't take him out of the tournament. So I'm actually pretty high on Brendan Steele again, and that is, 2 weeks in a row of famous last words. Elsewhere, I mentioned Rory, Scotty Scheffler definitely belongs in that category. Rahm, a little bit further down. Hovland, these long hitters that can still find fairways, hence the off the tee numbers. Cam Young falls into that as well. There's Rahm, Hovland. Scheffler's been a little worse, but you get the idea. I think those players are going to be well suited for this week. P, thanks for jumping in chat. You missed the intro of me explaining that, well, you can hear it and see it, that I am under the weather, so I look and sound even more like shit than I normally do. But thanks for jumping in chat. I'm going to try to get through this show. I have a bunch of water. If you see me munching on a cough drop, it's just for your all's sake. But anyway, so there's my top 10. Let's not waste any time. Let's go through the salary board here, and we move to the projected ownerships per Fantasy National. And I'll go ahead and just reload it right now and see what's going on here. So again, remember Fleetwood and Cam Smith are not playing this week. So in the 10Ks, you've got 4 players now. You've got John Rahm is your second most projected owned player in the field. Rory's your third. And Justin Thomas is roughly 6th or so. So Rahm's at 20.5%. A lot of people are on Rahm. Last week, I was pretty cautious. Although, to be fair, I did have him in a couple of lineups because it's John Rahm. He played well. So I think a lot of the rust or the believers are coming back. Rory, just under 20%, makes a whole lot of sense. This course seems like it would be a perfect fit for Rory as long as he's hitting fairways. And JT, a little under 17%. And I would have thought JT would have been a little bit higher in terms of projected ownership. But, yeah, I mean, there's plenty to like here. It's JT. Par 3s haven't been good. The irons actually haven't been good. He's below field average. Again, remember there is only 68 players, so halfway would be 34. So, let's see. And then the other one, Will Zalatoris, he is not a pivot by any means, but certainly less in the 10Ks. He's at 16.2% projected owned. So, if you're asking me, considering ownership, price, my rankings, all that stuff, I think I have to put Justin Thomas number 1. A lot of that being he is the third most projected owned of those 4. I really do like Jon Rahm this week, but 20.5% is really, really tough to get behind. Do the floodgates open for Will Zalatoris? I don't know, but he should play well here again. I mean, he's top 5 in majority of these things, and he has one bad statistic. It's his putter. So, and he putt well last week. So I like Zalatoris a lot. So I'm going to go Thomas, Zalatoris, Rory, Rahm, I guess. And I love Rahm this week. I really do. But that 20.5% is just really tough to eat on Jon Rahm. So we move to the 9s. You've got your most projected owned player in the field in the 9Ks. Probably no surprise. It's Tony Finau. He's been a world beater lately. Number 2 in my rankings. I wonder if Zalatoris lost his after his win. I don't know what to say to that. I'm just gonna let that one ride. But I mean, I think it was a long time coming. He is one of the studs, young studs on the PGA Tour. So it was only a matter of time. But Tony Finau, your number 1 most projected owned player, 25%. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's probably gonna be more like 28, 29%. If you take Tony Finau, just understand you're at a 5v5. Just assume you're at a 5v5 against every single other person in the contest. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, he's number 1 in a lot of these metrics. He's number 2 in my rankings. But it's really hard to accept being at a 5v5 right off the bat. If you use Finau, you're not going to be able to use a Rahm or a Rory. You're going to have to use some of these other, semi-unique players with him, with Finau. Otherwise, in the 9Ks, you've got a mixed bag anywhere between 12.5% and 16%. So everybody's getting used in here. Everybody's getting used. The 12.5 is Joo Hyun Kim. The 16% is Sung Jae. Then you got varying levels of 14.5, 15, 15 and some change and all that stuff. So in the 9Ks, again, just because of the layout of this course, I like Scottie Scheffler this week. I do. I'm a little gun shy on Fitzpatrick. Yes, he has been gaining distance with his driver, but the irons have been suspect lately. So I'm very cautious on Fitzpatrick, and the 3-putt avoidance has been not good. He's also the second worst in the field at birdies birdies gained on long courses. So I've got my reservations about Fitzpatrick. I love Hovland this week. I like Sung Jae. I'm a little lower on Joo Hyun Kim, even though he's 12th in my rankings. I'm a little lower on Joo Hyun Kim. I like Sung Jae, but I love Victor Hovland this week. This just feels like Victor Hovland kind of layout. And if he has to scramble, then I was wrong because I don't have any scrambling in the mixed condition model. But there's a look at the 9Ks. Xander, fine, 14.5. Colin Morikawa, 13%, fine. This seems like it would be a challenge for Colin Morikawa only because it's long. But he's won on long courses anyway, so who knows. I think I'm gonna have to agree with the Fantasy National Analytics community. Julian Kim 12.5. He's the lowest. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. He's very good in a couple of things. He hasn't had any course. He hasn't played a long course yet, so we'll see. Let's move into the 8s. In the 8s, this is where your contestants are just flat out ignoring it, with the exception of a couple players. So your second most projected owned player, Cameron Young, at a little under 22%, makes a whole lot of sense. Long course, probably going to be off the tee based. He is number 1 in off the tee on long courses. Makes a whole lot of sense. And Joaquin Niemann is at 17%. And I'm not there with Joaquin Niemann. I'm just not. Like the par 3, fine. Putting has been okay. But the par 4s have been really bad. The length of the par 4s have been really bad. The irons, the procs, I'm just not there with Niemann. So seeing Niemann at a 17% is a fade for me. It's a complete fade for me. So elsewhere in the 8Ks, those two are the ones that are getting a lot of use. You've got 13% in Aaron Wise. And sure, it's all based on the ball striking. I mean, he always rates out well because of the strokes gained approach and proximity and all that stuff. He's at 13%. Corey Connors, really like Corey Connors this week. He's at 11%. So if Connors is indeed at 11%, I mean, he has one bad statistic of the ones that I have brought in to this mixed condition model. It's the par 3s. He's number 1 at the length of the par 4s. And again, this is the kind of my angle that I'm going with against the others in the industry this week, is that I think this range of par 4s is going to be the most important. And he's very good at avoiding 3 putts. So if he is wayward, and his proximity has been okay, but if he is wayward, I trust that he can 2-putt. Really, really like Corey Connors this week. Elsewhere in the 8Ks, I mean, you've got Spieth at 6.5, Lowry at 6, Max Homa at 9.5, Hideki at 6%. This seems like it should be a Hideki course as well, but I am not willing to take that chance on a withdrawal. I'm just not. If you are, and he plays well, you are gaining a whole lot of uniqueness and a whole lot of leverage on your fellow contestants. That is a risk I'm not willing to take. But Hideki in prime form, this should fit him. I just don't think he's in prime form. Adam Scott, no thanks, 7%. Terrell Hatton. As much as I usually like Terrell Hatton, this doesn't feel like a Terrell Hatton course. He's generally better when it's short and tough. Well, I think this will be tough. This is really long. This doesn't feel like a Terrell Hatton style of course. There's a look at the 8Ks. Let's move to the high 7s. And in the high 7s, you have one player getting some use. It's Cameron Davis. Again, I'm just not there with Cam Davis. Par 4s are not good. He's not been getting birdies on long courses. He's been taking advantage of short and easy courses. This is not a short, and I don't think it'll be an easy course. So I'm just not there with Cam Davis. So that's another full fade for me. Elsewhere, you've got Taylor. No, he is in low 7s, excuse me. No one else in the upper 7s is getting any attention at all. So let's see, Horschel 4%. Hindley at 7.5 is very intriguing. It's always the putter that worries you with Russell Hindley. But you can't argue against the ball striking. And he gets birdies in bunches when it's long, thanks to his ball striking. You are concerned about the off the tee if he stops finding fairways and such, but I don't know. Russell Henley is intriguing. It's intriguing to me. No thanks on Brian Harman. We talked about Cam Davis. Davis Riley, Riley's at 10.5%, a little high for my liking. I say it a lot, but if he falls in price and towards a team, great. I'm not rushing to use him, but I'm not upset to use him. So, in the low sevens, you've got two players, getting some love. Taylor Pendrith at 15%. This feels like a Taylor Pendrith course. Long. He's generally pretty accurate. Can putt well on bent. This feels like a Taylor Pendrith course. Even though he's 19th and the par fours are pretty bad, I'm pretty high on Pendrith, so seeing him at 15% is a little disappointing. But I'm probably going to have some Taylor Pendrith. The other player in the low sevens getting some love is Mito. I like Mito, and I have an outright wager on him. So that means I'm going to probably avoid him a lot in DFS and have my exposure to Mito be an outright. He's got a lot going for him. Irons have been good. Proximity's good. Par 3's been good. But he has not putt well at all on fast and lightning bent greens. The par 4s have been atrocious. So I see Mito being an all or nothing. And if those kind of players, I prefer to bet outright as opposed to use them in DFS. Those are the only two that are getting any love in the low sevens. Let's see, you've got Sahith Theegala at 9.5, Varner at 6. Like, your fellow contestants just aren't coming into the low sevens. They just aren't. And for the upper sevens, in fact, as well. Like, the 7Ks are just getting ignored, which means that I truly think your fellow contestants, at least Fantasy National and the analytics community, is going stars and scrubs, because you have 3 players above 11.5% in the 6Ks. It starts with Emiliano Grillo. He's at a little under 11.5%, and I completely understand why. Ball striking course. He's been good at avoiding 3 putts. He just can't putt generally. But I'm not there, because Grillo hasn't been doing Grillo things, as in, like, the irons haven't been spectacular. The par 4s are bad. Like, I'm just not there with Grillo. Just not. So that's a third fade for me, along with Neiman and Cam Davis. You have Taylor Moore at 12%. Okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Like, Prox, good. Par 4s have been very good for 6,400. Let's say he's been very good for somebody in the 6Ks. But the putting has been woeful. Off the tee has been woeful, especially in long courses. So you have to accept flaws if you're coming into the 6Ks, sure. I like Taylor Moore, but I like somebody else more. And then Trey Mullinax is at 11.5% or 11.6. I like Trey Mullinax a lot this week. As much as I said Taylor Pendrith, this feels like a Taylor Pendrith course. This is a Trey Mullinax course as well. Off the tee, the proximity, irons have been okay for somebody that's in the 6Ks in price. He's been putting it okay. Like, I like Trey Mullinax this week, and at 6,200, I think he presents a whole lot of value. Everyone knows who I'm going to say, because he's in the top 10 of my rankings, but I mentioned it in the reveal of my top 10. The numbers say Brendan Steele should play well here, and he didn't last week, and I was really high on him, so that tanked a lot of my DFS. But again, number 1 in strokes gained approach in this loaded field in the past 36 rounds. 3rd in proximity. 4th off the tee when a course is long. top 15 in par fours and of the length of par fours. There's a lot to like here with Brendan Steele. And another thing too is his putter, which is atrocious. Let's just call it what it is. It's atrocious. His putter will not take him out of the event. He's guaranteed 4 rounds. Hey, Awaken. Thanks for jumping in chat. I apologize for the terrible audio. I'm just quite under the weather. You're on Kuchar for some reason. Let's see, Kuchar. He's in the bottom 2/3 of my rankings. I mean, he actually surprisingly plays long courses well, which you wouldn't think about for Matt Kuchar. Or at least he gets birdies in bunches on long courses, so you like that. He putts well, especially on bent. I don't hate it. I'm not going to use any Kuchar, but I don't hate it. And he's also got the narrative of having to play well to make it to East Lake. I'm a little concerned about the form. Like, he's had one good iron week lately. I mean, the Byron Nelson's 3 months back, so I'm worried about the form. But he is a lot better on long courses than people think. So I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for him to keep up on the par fours, because I don't think he's going to be able to carry the bunkers and all that stuff that he needs to. Having said that, I truly believe all 3 par 5s are 3-shotters. That gives him an advantage because he's a pretty good wedge player, and he's not going to lose anything on not being able to reach the green in 2. So it's an interesting thought. I'm not there, but I'm not going to try to talk you off of it either. All right, so I'm sorry. That is a look at the price board and projected ownerships. Let me bring up Microsoft Excel and switch the view for you all. There. Okay. So let's go over some tiers contests for those who play tiers. So in tier 1, you've got Rory and John Rahm. It was Cam Smith. He's withdrawn. So I choose one. I don't know who would be chalky, who not. Choose one. Who do you want to cheer for? Choose. Tier 2, JT, Will Zalatoris, Patrick Cantley, Scotty Scheffler, and Xander. Catch the replay, feel better. Well, thank you, B. I appreciate that. Good luck with all of your stuff this weekend. Thanks for jumping by and chat for a little bit of time you were able to. Tier 2, JT, Will Zalatoris, Patrick Cantley, Scheffler, and Xander. I'm probably going JT for the safety. I am intrigued by Scotty Scheffler. I mean, if you think Will Zalatoris is going to continue the hot ride, sure. I think I'm going JT, and I would be intrigued by Scheffler. Tier 3, Tony Finau, Matt Fitzpatrick, Colin Morikawa, Sam Burns, and Sungjae. Tony Finau is the overwhelmingly best play in here. He's the overwhelmingly chalky play. I think Sungjae would be good. I think Sam Burns is going to be good this week. I'm going to go Sungjae. I don't mind Sam Burns to avoid the chalk of Tony Finau. Tier 4, Victor, Ju Young Kim, Cameron Young, Jordan Spieth, Shane Lowry, Joaquin Niemann, and Hideki. If you have a strong feeling about Hideki using, this is a course that would suit prime Hideki well. I'm not there because I don't want to take the chance on a withdrawal. In this tier, I'm going to take Victor. Cameron Young is also a good choice, very chalky. But I'm going to go Victor. Tier 5, Max Homa, Corey Connors, Terrell Hatton, Aaron Wise, Adam Scott, Billy Horschel, and Russell Henley. Corey Connors for me. No ifs, ands, or buts. Number 3 in my rankings. I think he's going to play extremely well this week. So, give me Corey Connors. Tier 6, you've got Siwoo, HV3, Noren, Kisner, Sepp Straka, Scott Stallings, and Mark Leishman. Even though Scott Stallings is rated the highest, I might go like Noren because he just putts so well. I mean, the guy loves bent grass, so he can have a bad week and save himself on the greens. Having said that, because of the rankings, I would probably go Stallings, but don't sleep on Noren because his bent grass prowess is strong. All right, there's a look at the tiers. Let's start making a few lineups. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter show because I feel like hell. But if you are wanting to see a particular style of lineup, or do you want to try to build a lineup based around a couple of players, put them in chat and I will see what we can work on. But let's try to build a chalky team. And if we're going to do that, it's going to start with John Rahm, to go down to Tony Finau. I really do think your fellow contestants are going stars and scrubs because at 6,200, you got Trey Mullinax at 12%. You have Taylor Moore at 6,400, 12%. Wyndham Clark, Grillo. So I'll go right in the middle of those two. I'll say Taylor Moore. From here, I mean, it depends on if they're willing to go 2 6s. I highly doubt they are. But there's not a lot of use in the low 7s. It's just Mito. So if they go Mito, they could perhaps go Taylor Pendrith as well. And that lets them squeeze in at 91. Sung Jae, who's pretty popular. Cameron Young's also very popular. Like, this is leaving $200 on the table. But you see 18%. 18%. I think if you go stars and scrubs this week, I think you're going to be running into a lot of duplicates. I really do. Even though this is a WGC style field, and those tournaments generally lend themselves to balanced lineups, it looks like at least the analytical community is going stars and scrubs. Another way they could go about this, if they want to try and fit 2 10Ks, or if they go 2 6Ks, I will give them Trey Mullinax and Emiliano Grillo. And with this, excuse me, they're going to go, I'm just going to switch it up a little bit. They'll go Rory, JT, perhaps a higher 8. We used Cameron Young last time, like Joaquin Nimo's getting a lot of love. I'm not there with him. And then 8,000 is Adam Scott. He's not. Aaron Wise, that's $100 over, but you can see the kind of shell that your fellow contestants are kind of making here. I'll say Cameron Davis to stay under the budget. That's close to 16%. And a different look of a stars and scrubs style team. To combat that, I've been trying to go balanced. And Will Zalatoris is the least owned in the 10Ks, or at least the least projected owned. Having said that, I'm still feeling more comfortable with Justin Thomas. I don't know why. I mean, yes, Will Zalatoris is number 1 in my rankings, but I don't know. This is a kind of a gut feeling. I'm more comfortable with Justin Thomas. And then I've been bottoming out in the low 7s with Keegan. I like Keegan this week. I really do. The putter has been fine, so it will fall off eventually. I'm hoping it's not this week. He's been dialed with his irons, all that stuff. I really like Keegan. Then we move up just a little bit more. You have Russell Henley. I really like Henley. Now, just like Keegan, his putter can get putrid very quickly, but I'm banking on the proximity, the iron play, and that he continues to hit fairways. So this is a bit of a stretch on these two players. I get it, but I'm gaining so much uniqueness if these two play the way they have been recently. So after those two, I come up to Corey Connors, who's right at 83. I love Corey Connors this week. I think he is set up for this course quite well. He's not the longest hitter, but he plays the par 4s 400 to 450 immaculately. And that's the length of the majority of the par 4s here at Wilmington Country Club. So I think he is set in a big way here this week. I am seeing that I am going to have to bring a lower end player. I didn't want to have to, but looks like I'm going to have to for price purposes. So instead of bottoming out at Keegan, let's say Scott Stallings. It has been Brendan Steele, but let's just say Scott Stallings, and then at 10K is Will Zalatoris. Like, this is a lineup that is a bit more Starsy Scrubsy, but it's at 11.5%. I'll put Thomas and Zalatoris up against anybody. These three are quite speculative. I'm very confident on Corey Connors. These two are speculative, I get it. And then Scott Stallings. If you wanted to build like a true balance, let's start with like a Scotty Scheffler. Well, if you start with like a Scotty Scheffler, you have opened yourself up to a lot of different angles of attack, I'll say. You can go like Scheffler Finau, it's a little chalky. You can go like Scheffler Morikawa, Scheffler Burns. I've been going Scheffler Victor. I love Victor this week. This seems like a Victor style course. I love Victor. In the 8s, I don't have to come into the 8s. Like, I like Connors. I want to try to use different players, but I would be using Connors in this. I'll say Hideki in case you are unafraid of the potential withdrawal that is always there with Hideki. I would try not to dip into the 6K since we're trying to build a balanced team, but if you're going to try to be unique, you might have to. So something to the effect of again, like just like Keegan this week, that leaves you with 77 per player. Like Russell Henley's at 78. You can go to Tagala, JT Poston, I think will be okay this week, and that's Aaron Wise at 81. It's 11%, but compared to these other chalky lineups, we've seen 18%, 16%, 15%. I like that this kind of build this week. What kind of wagers have you made this week? I've got a small card, but one that I think plays to the way the course is going to. Everybody knows my FOMO, so I've got Aaron Wise, of course. So if you're looking for a bomb in outright wagers, take a look at Lucas Herbert. And the only reason I say Lucas Herbert is the one course that is a Robert Trent Jones design on the PGA Tour right now is Port Royal, the Bermuda Championship. Lucas Herbert won that this past year. Now, those conditions were awful. Rain, 40-mile-an-hour winds. Maybe that was the reason why he won. But Herbert has at least shown that he likes a RTJ design. So if you're looking for a bomb, take a look at Lucas Herbert. I wouldn't put a whole lot on him, but yeah. So I think that's going to do it for the DFS Tactics show. Again, I apologize that it's 15 minutes short, but I am feeling very under the weather. Awaken, thanks for jumping in chat. I appreciate it. Let me know how your week goes, or weekend, either in the comments or social media, all that stuff. A reminder to everybody that I have been streaming every day to Twitch, so look for me there. I've been doing DFS baseball, DFS golf, updating spreadsheets, been playing some games. Just find me on Twitch, hang out during the day. But thanks for tuning in and watching and listening. I really do appreciate the support that you all show the channel by jumping in chat and comments and all that stuff, especially when I have a night like this where I just don't feel well and you will still show up and interact. I really do appreciate it. So, for all of the wagers you've made this week at the BMW, for all of the DFS contests you've entered this week at the BMW, and for this weekend and every weekend, may your bets be profitable.